Today on Broadcast, she's an attorney, retired detective, and single mom, and she's dying of cancer. We talked to the woman fighting the state of California to be able to die with dignity.
Plus, he's a Bay Area tech entrepreneur who works from home so he can be with his daughter. That's awesome. So he reached out to a local mom's club to see if he could find some camaraderie with other parents. The result, rejected. But it's not because he's a man, it's because he's a straight man.
Yikes. And our relationship roundup. What's that? Tune in to find out.
Well, I'm tuning in because I don't really even know what that is.
That's what happens when you show up at the show and it's like the laundry fairy in your house.
Oh, I need the laundry fairy.
Yes, my husband thinks that
socks.
My husband thinks she exists. So, how are you?
I'm awesome.
Great. Well, Tatiana's not here today.
Okay.
She's having a wicked good time in Boston. But we have a special guest. Pam is in the house. You're going to have to pull that microphone close to your face. And so we'll get some opinions from her a little bit later in the show. So David Letterman is
Don't
over.
spoil it. I'm just kidding. I didn't watch the season. I didn't watch the ending yet.
Yeah, it's over. It's over.
And did you see that they threw away the set? Like they basically just went into the studio, took the set, and dumped it into the garbage like immediately. Did you see that?
And you know that probably half of it, if not all of it's on eBay at this point. And I would assume
like garbage diggers?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah. I don't know.
Dumpster divers.
Dumpster divers. Yeah. Garbage
I'm like,
diggers.
wait, I know this answer.
Kim's so hip.
Yeah.
So we put on our Facebook page, guess which one of us was at the very first David Letterman show on CBS, late show with David Letterman on August 30th, 1993.
Wow.
And people guessed you. They guessed it was you.
I know, that's awesome. But no, I've never been invited.
It was me.
Wee.
I went there. I got out of my local news job in Boston at 11:35 on that night and went and got my friend. And we drove the 4 hours to New York and found a hotel room for a couple hours to get some sleep, which was probably interesting for us to, at the front desk, like, hey, can we have a couple hours? And then we waited for the standby tickets and we didn't get in. So we were outside chatting with other people who didn't get in. And Bill Murray and David Letterman come bursting through the door outside to meet and greet people.
This was the first show?
This was the very first show on CBS, yes. Okay. So yeah, it was like very, very exciting.
And so what did you do?
And so I shook his hand and, you could see me I could actually point it out in circle.
You can find your hair,
my
your
big
Aquanet.
1993 hair and shaking his hand. And it was very exciting because then I started getting interviewed by local news outlets because whoa, and it was actually better than getting into the show. Yeah,
they were interviewing why? Because you shook his hand?
It was his first episode, so they were all there to get the excitement and the audience, and so I had my wicked big accent on, and I was like, "Oh, it was so awesome!" and "Oh my god," and it was good. So.
Well,
anyway.
you know what? What I loved about David Letterman's farewell was actually all of the other talk show hosts that did these amazing tributes. And I don't know if you saw the one that Jimmy Kimmel did. He couldn't even hold his composure together when he was talking about how much of an impact David Letterman has had in his life and how he, from a very,
Why was he at the first show too outside?
He was actually behind you. He didn't get on camera. But no, he has emulated him from the time he was a small, young man. And they showed a picture of him when he first got his car, and he had a license plate on that said late night.
Oh.
Yeah, so I didn't realize. And he couldn't even get through his tribute to him. He just was very emotional. And I just thought that was cool. And Jon Stewart did something great.
Yeah, and didn't Jimmy Fallon take the night off so he wouldn't?
No, that was Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh.
Jimmy Fallon may have, but
Jimmy Fallon's like, oh,
Jimmy Kimmel actually encouraged everybody not even to watch his rerun, which I thought was cool. But anyway, I've not seen.
Because that's what Letterman needed was Jimmy Kimmel's numbers.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So it's Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I have some fun facts.
You do?
I do.
All right.
Okay, so Memorial Day, we are legally required to observe a national moment of remembrance. Did you know that? Anyone?
I only found that out when I researched Memorial Day for the show.
Oh, you just took away my fun fact. Okay, I did this. Did you know that it used to be called Decoration Day until the late 1960s?
I did not know that.
Oh, I got one. Yeah.
But so more on that. Go back to that.
So we're legally required to observe National Moment of Remembrance. In 2000, Congress passed law requiring Americans to pause at 3 p.m. local time to remember and honor the fallen.
Did you know that, Peter?
Yeah, I knew that. But
wow.
My mom was in the Army.
Oh,
So do you do that?
And you didn't know that. Did you know that? Pull the mic closer to your face.
To the flag and all this. No one can hear me.
I know, no one can hear you.
Peter's mom was in the Army.
Here.
Right? Are you gonna tell us the story?
Peter,
Hi.
tell us about your mom. Good morning.
Good morning, broads.
Good morning, bro.
No, I was just saying.
Your mom was in the Army?
My mom was in the Army, so we pledged allegiance to the flag and all that stuff.
Wait, every day?
We did do it every day.
In your house?
In the house. Well, we did it on the weekend because I did it at school. But
Right.
then I guess I'm not up to date with the times. I don't think they do that all the time
You do-
everywhere.
At school?
Oh, I don't know about everywhere, but every
when
morning.
I was in high school, people started I'm not gonna say that and stuff like that. But we said because I have a bunch of military in my family,
Right.
And my mom was one of them for 16 years.
Wow.
She was in the armed forces, so.
Wow.
So
That's fantastic.
So we
We celebrate Memorial Day. It's a big party, big
Yeah.
barbecue, big,
Yeah.
big.
But you have the real meaning, it's
I
not.
suppose.
Yeah.
But
just
many
the rest of us
do.
just are excited we get to wear white officially. That's pretty much what we're. And hey, I got jiggy. I
And
did it
some
last
of us
week.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that includes me.
Yeah, well, you're also, if you're going to fly a flag on Memorial Day, it's customary to fly the flag. That is a tongue twister. Fly the flag at half staff until noon and then raise it until sunset.
Do that?
Did you know that?
I didn't.
Well, okay.
Wow.
I think that's awesome. Anyway,
right.
I mean, I think, I hope that people take a moment to reflect back and to truly honor the people that do so much to protect our country. And I actually do that. I don't think I stop at 3 p.m., but I think officially today I will.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get caught.
Well, Monday. But
I mean Monday.
But be safe also. But we have to take a break.
Okay.
When we
So
come
when
back.
we come back, the single mom fighting the state of California for her right to die with dignity. Don't miss that.
And the dad rejected by a local mom's club for being straight. You're listening to Broadcast on KHTS AM 1220, your hometown station. Welcome back to Broadcast. We're taking your calls, 661-298-5487. Again, 661-298-5487. Call us.
All right. So he is a Bay Area tech entrepreneur who works from home so he can be with his daughter. He reached out to the local moms club to see if he could find some camaraderie with other parents. The result, he was rejected, but not because he's a man. It's because he's a straight man.
What?
So I think we should just talk to him. So Haran, are you on the phone with us?
I am here, yeah. Good morning.
Good
morning.
morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So what happened?
Look at you making news.
I'm clueless as well.
Well, that's typical for a straight man.
Oh,
But I'm just kidding.
She's single. Don't hold that against her.
It is true. It is true that we're clueless, and this is why I wanted to join a mother's group. At the end of the day, mother knows best.
Oh, wow.
You're making points. You're
Yeah,
making
right?
points.
So you wanted to
tried.
join this mom's club. So you filled out you had the child. I went and did a little research. You had to have a child between 0 and 5, which you have. And what happened?
So the basic demands are that you have a child between up to, I think, 5 or 6 years old, and you have to be local, and that's it. And I applied, and the response I got that the club is for mothers only. My wife is welcome to join, unless I'm in the same sex with a child. Then they would be happy to accept me, and
That's where it takes a weird turn because as much as I can understand your need for camaraderie and community, because my husband and I tend to switch roles sometimes, and he's spent at least up to a year at a time home with our kids, that there are things that happen in some of these moms club groups that are more female. They may not be comfortable with a male around, whether it's talking about childbirth or issues or things that they just want to have that group. So I understand why there are men's clubs. I understand why there are, and I think that if we start to fight every one of those, we're going to be fighting a long time. But what's really strange is that if you were gay, you would be welcome. So it's not that you're a man, it's that you're a straight man. What is happening at these events that I mean, what are the women and the gay men doing?
I don't know. I've never been to those clubs.
Yes, because you were not invited. So
I wasn't accepted.
So I actually have a question. So why a mom's club as opposed to a dad's club or a parents club? Like, why specifically the mom's club?
So, hey, I'm new to this world. I had no idea that there are clubs, and a friend at the JCC told me, "Oh, you should join a local mothers group," because I was asking her what I should do with my daughter. Mm-hmm. And that was it. I just joined. I never imagined that there would be a problem. I just thought, I'll get to take my daughter to the park, and there will be other kids there.
Right.
I wasn't planning on sitting there and talking about childbirth.
right, and
Completely
I
understand.
go ahead.
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No, just that you
Your
have
show.
a different take on life with kids, and I think that it actually is valuable to women to have a man in the group.
So what did you think when they came back and said you had to be part of a same-sex marriage? Is that what encouraged you to take it to the street, so to speak?
Yes, I would completely understand if they would say this is only for women. And I would say, like you said, they're talking childbirth and whatever. They want to feel comfortable. I accept it. I don't think it should be like that, but I accept it.
Right.
When they wrote that if I were in the same sex, this is where I lost it, because it's not just a slight sexual discrimination. This is not gender discrimination. This is actual sexual discrimination.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So what are you
There's
going
no way
to
of
do
avoiding
now?
it.
So what are you going to do now? Now that they've turned the policy around, right, to allow you to be part of the group. Is that right?
I have no idea.
Well, I saw that they made a statement
Right.
that it was a membership error, and that you
What does
and your
that mean?
family are welcome to join them.
What does it mean, a membership error?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
That means
Someone
that
took
you
their
pulled the
time to
veil
write
back
down
on
their own opinion in a response letter, and then someone above them decided this is a mess, and they issued a statement to the TV. What's a membership error?
Right, absolutely.
I have no idea what that means.
But you're absolutely right. This is bigger than it. It can be played off as like, oh look, he was rejected by the Moms Club. Isn't that funny? Or but they're likening a gay man to a woman, or that his role is as a mom. So even if you have two men as the parents, they are both fathers. One isn't a mother,
Right.
and one isn't a father. They're fathers.
Right.
So if you have a mom's club, you decide which one is the role of the mom? Like, it's ridiculous.
Right. It's an antiquated concept, but I mean, I hope for your sake that you say, forget that and go off and form your own club that gets your needs met as a stay-at-home dad, because I was raised by a father, and I fully support and applaud your efforts, and congratulations to you for pulling the veil back on something that I think we should be looking at as a bigger picture.
Yeah, and if any of the listeners are in the Bay Area, they should look you up, because I bet there are a lot of stay-at-home dads or parents in general who would like to get together and get more than one side of the parenting equation.
I totally agree. I wonder how many other men have applied to join that specific mothers club and were rejected for being straight.
Maybe
That
you
would
should
be
get their
interesting
names.
For me, maybe all the rejected straight men should form a club.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Well, we'll be behind you. Thank you
Well,
so much
thank
for calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a good one.
You
You too.
All right, so we'll be right back after the break. We're taking your calls, 661-298-5487.
Welcome back.
Hi.
How are you?
I decided to stay.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I
I'm
was
so
like,
glad.
you know what? I'm just going to stay and work it out and stay for the next half an hour.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
we're going to go to our relationship roundup, but before that, we had a lot more questions. So many more questions for that
I know.
guy.
It's always, the interviews are always better between us, actually, but off air, like the stuff that we do off air. So we have to figure out how to fix that.
Exactly. So,
All right.
all right. So,
Let's just skip to relationships.
I wish we had a relationship roundup.
We need a cowbell.
Yeehaw, something.
more cowbell.
Yeah, we need Andrew Bowen. Get Andrew Bowen in here to do some voiceover.
Okay.
And give us more cowbell. So there was a survey in women's health. The first thing to notice, what is the first thing women notice about a man?
Okay, is it a single woman or a married woman? Because I think that would make a difference.
You do? What? So
no.
married women are dead?
No, it just sometimes.
Well, answer for yourself. What's the first thing you notice?
Height.
Okay. Pam, our special guest.
Hello. Eyes.
Oh, you're so full of crap.
No, it's true. No, seriously. That's the
What if
first
he's
thing
looking?
I noticed.
What if he's
We have
looking the other
sunglasses
way?
on.
What?
What if he's looking the other way?
Or he has sunglasses on.
Well, I would say most of the time. If it's not that, then it's probably just, it's the overall face, the smile. It's you know, I think that's your first.
Oh, and
that's
if
where
he's
your
wearing a
eyes are
tank
drawn.
top, what he's wearing.
Oh,
Can't have that.
gross.
Tank top, no tank top.
No rib tank top.
Yeah. So I think I noticed like the way he holds his. Oh, wait, so let me finish that. Carries himself. You know, like just that. There's just something about like whether he walks across the room.
See,
or
a
he's
single
sitting in
woman would say how he holds himself.
Yeah,
See
well,
the difference?
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah.
But the survey says the first thing to know that women notice are the eyes.
Oh.
See, Pam, you
See,
win.
there you go.
I think you're all lying. Lying. Number 2 is a smile. Number 3, teeth. Number 4, height. Really? I mean, how can you not notice someone's height? It's right there before you can see teeth and smile. What
I don't know, because
what if he's serious with a face mask on? I mean, like,
I
I don't know.
don't know. That's why I gravitate towards height.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you. Like, I believe you.
Yeah.
I think that other women are lying. But almost no women said abs,
Yeah.
butts, or other
Other
things. Other things.
Yeah, I tend to, I agree. I'm not really, I don't notice that first.
Yeah. It takes
don't
me a
care
while
about
for
that.
eyes.
Why?
I don't know. It's not the first thing I notice.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's the whole thing. I think the way they stand, I
Yeah.
think all of that, the way
Yeah.
they carry themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So-
I'm with you.
All right. In other news, if this isn't a reason to give your kid a sibling, only children. I'm not talking to
Yes.
you, really.
You're talking to my father.
Only children are most likely to cheat. This is from bustle.com. So take it with a bustle, grain of salt, a grain of bustle.
I reject this.
33% of only children are said to cheat
Why?
in this survey. They say it's because they grew up lonely and needing the love and compassion of others
Oh,
or the attention.
okay.
What do you think of that one, Pam?
You know, it's interesting. I have a family of 4, so I wouldn't know that dynamic, but I wouldn't imagine that would be the case.
Any
because-
cheaters in your family? Just kidding.
Don't worry, they're not listening.
We'll sidebar that one. No, but I think that when you're an only child, I would imagine there is quite a bit of attention. So I don't know that you'd be longing for particularly attention per se.
Maybe attention from other people outside of your parents.
Oh, hold on. We have an only child in the room. Peter, is there something that you would like to
Oh,
disclose
there you
to
go.
us?
I've never cheated on anybody.
What?
I'm an only child.
You've never cheated? Have you wanted to cheat because you're longing for extra attention?
No.
Really? So you
Are you in a
debunked this
relationship?
myth?
I've been in a relationship for almost 10 years.
Nice.
Wow.
There is hope for my only child son then.
There's hope for all of us. You just don't cheat.
Well, but here's the thing. It's not just only children, because if you have one sibling, all right, so that was 33%. If you have one sibling, it goes down to 14%. 2 siblings, 20%. So that'll give my kids 20% chance, 3 siblings, 9%. But 4 or more siblings, and, I'm one of 13, and Pam, you've got, you have 3.
I get it.
24%. It goes back up. So whether you have no siblings or several siblings, it seems that you're needing, or you could just call this whole survey a
This
crap.
is all stupid. I mean, it's bustle. What is bustle.com?
I don't know.
mean, where do you find this
But it
stuff?
also says only children are more likely to divorce.
Oh, jeez. My kid is set up for failure then.
Yeah, but they do
yeah.
better in school.
He's going to be smart and successful
Yes.
and lonely, cheating divorcee. Awesome. I got high hopes for my kid.
Match.com is waiting for him. So anyway,
Nice. Okay, so man keeps track, so that we're going to go back to
We're
the
moving
single
on.
man again. Okay, so man keeps track of what his girlfriend says in her sleep. The Reddit user Soggy Bricks.
Come on, everyone knows Soggy Bricks.
Samantha, I need more feet. I feel like I have keyboards stuck to me. Give me the flavorful items.
these are the things that his girlfriend Samantha
she say in
says
that
in her
ridiculous
sleep.
voice?
I know. I hope she doesn't sound like
Yeah.
that. So he actually logs these things that she says in her sleep. So have you guys ever heard anything odd in if there was ever,
I have to date myself back to a.
well, I once dated a guy who was from Wales and he spoke English, as you would, but in his sleep he spoke Gaelic.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or Gaelic, or however they pronounce it.
Gaelic?
Yeah. Isn't that funny? So all of a sudden it was like, I mean, I wish we had this is dating me because we didn't have, cell phones and with like recording devices.
See, in the
and
ear
all
out
that.
to Twitter. This is what Jackie does.
So, but I wish we had Twitter back then because I would have tweeted the entire thing. But
There is nothing I don't think that stands out to me that anybody that the one person that I have had a relationship with in my whole life that I don't think so. I think I talk in my sleep. That's weird. I think I do.
Really?
I don't know. I kick in my sleep sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have kids who talk in their sleep, but that's a whole other. Oh God. That's a different
Please
show.
don't have anybody record me when I'm sleeping.
All right, we got to go to break, Kim.
Okay. When we come back, one mom fights the state of California for her right to die with dignity. She is sharing her story with us when we come back on Broadcast on KHTS AM 1220, your hometown station.
Back. That's me. I know. 661-298-5487. Come and talk to us. Hey, we just got a tweet on the
Twitter?
Twitter.
The Twitter?
The Twitter from Nate. Nate. Hello, Nate. He says he didn't get a job once because I was straight. One of the people said, quote, they like to hire their own, end quote. So.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm sorry. I honestly don't think that everything has to be a lawsuit. Everything has to be discrimination. Sometimes it just is what it is. I know.
All right.
I know it's
You
probably
heard it
not
here
very
first.
popular.
You heard it here first. So, anyway, 661-298-5487. So, guess what? Men fake it.
No way.
It's true. They fake.
I have never experienced that.
This report in the Daily Mail, so it has to be true, says that men fake it to get ahead. 1/3 in the workplace.
Wrong show.
In the workplace.
There's the keyword.
Yeah, 1/3. They did this. Okay, let me go back. Aaron Reed, an assistant professor of organizational behavior at Boston University, studied the attitudes at a high-powered consulting firm, and it shows that 1/3 of the men who claim to work 80-hour weeks only really clock 50 to 60 hours, and they've got some sly strategies happening. The guys. Here's the deal: the guys get ahead because they pretend they're working. So they will schedule meetings that are close to home, and they're not less time traveling. And the women are more vocal, like I have to go to this thing at school, or I need to work part time, or And this company supposedly was very family friendly, positive, work life balance. And so the women took them at their word, and have been communicating, and the men have just been kind of like
Lying.
on the side. And there's one team where they all cover for each other, when somebody has something to do.
So basically what you're saying is the men are doing all these personal things and they're saying that they're off at a meeting, or they got dragged into a conference call, or they're somewhere else.
Yeah, they're faking it.
other than where they're
and they take calls at night, all hours. And also, I guess this company, you can see when you're signed into email, so they just stay signed in. So it looks like they're working. But there were some men, as well as the women, who were honest about their needs, and they were marginalized, But women, because of their communication, actually, because they asked to work less, make less money and get fewer promotions there. So, where's the balance there?
It doesn't sound like there is much balance there.
But I think that's one of the problems with the workplace now.
All those guys must be single. Only children because they're cheating the system, right?
But But I think they're outed now at this company because the company's going to be a little more. So, Pam, you work up in Northern California.
Right.
A lot of hours, working hard.
Yeah.
Do you see that there are some people? Are you strategic with where you are?
I gotta say that I'm lucky. I've been in traditional companies where they clock you 9 to 5. They're watching the hours, and there's not typically that type of work day anymore. I think with our company, what I do like about it is that you put in the work, and it doesn't necessarily equate to your hours. They're not watching that male or female, and I think it really is about getting the job done, right? So that team you spoke to, where it's saying they all cover each other. I don't know that, cover would be the right word. If the job's getting done and you're doing it collectively as a team, then you're accomplishing.
Yeah, but they're covering for each other's, helping out.
Right, but I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That shows collaboration of a team.
Right.
And so as long as they're succeeding at what they're being tasked with, I don't think that's a problem.
But there are still jobs where if your body is not in that chair, then, you're criticized or, I mean, as parents too, like Kim, I mean, you have a job, you do a lot of work, but you're able to have some flexibility.
Right, but I wouldn't choose to be in a job that wouldn't allow me to have that flexibility because I'm a single parent and I have a lot of responsibilities outside of the place that pays my mortgage. So it wouldn't, I mean, I've been recruited by other places that wouldn't allow me to have the freedom to go about, and I wouldn't feel comfortable lying. I'm a terrible liar.
Right.
So I wouldn't be good at that.
Right.
So I wouldn't opt to stay in a place that would restrict my ability to be the parent I need to be. I also know that is not always conducive to companies, and I know that there are a lot of companies that are trying to create environments where you can bring your kids in, or they have childcare, or they do job share, or a little bit more work at home kind of settings to allow for parents to be parents.
Right.
But if you choose a job, you get a paycheck from it, you're responsible to be there from 9 to 5, you have X things, then honor that. I mean, where's our work ethic? If we're already lying and cheating to get out of it, then who are we raising as employees these days?
Word.
Nobody. I have a very strong work ethic, and so people that complain about their work situation, then do something about it or go somewhere else, or
But
just
that's
do
not
what you're
always,
supposed to do.
That's not always the option, though. And there are a lot of jobs and a lot of bosses out there. And if you work in retail or you work in, an office and environment that has specific hours, you can't have that flexibility necessarily.
Of course
and whether,
not, but you shouldn't be lying then. I mean, I get that sometimes you have to fib, but maybe a doctor's appointment was a little bit longer, and so you're sitting in traffic, so to speak, and so you're just going to go home as opposed to going back to the office. I understand some
you
of that,
also
but
need to know the mentality of the people you're working for.
Right.
Because
No, that's absolutely true.
I mean, I remember I had one particular boss who, if I said, "Oh, my kid is sick," eyes roll, whatever, like that ding, there's like a little
Right.
But if I said my dog was sick, it'd be like, take the week off. I mean, just Yeah. So sometimes I would use my animals, as an excuse as opposed to my other animals, my two-legged animals.
Right. No, listen, I understand that sometimes it's not an option to change the environment that you're in, but I also feel like being deceitful and lying and cheating the system doesn't even give your employer the opportunity to be flexible.
But it's not cheating the system. And you know what? I think it would be naive to act like we could just be ourselves and talk about our limitations and our lives and our need for work-life balance in the workplace. Like in interviews, I never mention that I have children. I don't talk about where I live because in the LA area, it's it could be 2-hour commute, and then they make a decision on that. Like, you have to hide a lot of things. And as long as the work is getting done, like Pam said, then more power to them. And they're getting the promotion. So, you know what? I'm going to join them. So there's that.
I think this company might be hiring, considering they're firing all these people.
Right?
So good luck.
So-
All right. When we come back, we are going to be talking to Christy O'Donnell. She is the woman who is taking on the state of California for her right to die with dignity. Please listen for her courageous battle. We will be right back after the break. 661-298-5487 here on KHTS. Ever.
Yes. Welcome back.
Okay, so in the news this past week, we've been seeing stories about the right to die with Dignity Act, and we were fortunate enough to have Christy O'Donnell join us this morning. She is a practicing attorney. She's a retired LAPD detective. She's a single mom, and she is she's dying of cancer. And I don't know why. I was reading the stories last night and I was getting very emotional. What I love about Christys Story is that in her final moments, final days, that she is going to fight the good fight to leave such a strong legacy and to pave the way for other people behind her. And I'm really excited, and I'm really honored that she is joining us today on the phone. So Christy, are you with us?
Yes, good morning. Thank
Good
you
morning.
so much. Good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
We are honored to have you.
Thank you,
Thank
Christy.
you.
So I'm just going to, correct me if I'm wrong, so you were diagnosed last year, right, with stage 4 lung cancer. Is that right?
Correct. On June 25th of last year, just a couple of days after my daughter's 20th birthday, and that we closed escrow on a house up here in Santa Clarita. I couldn't read. I woke up in the morning after her birthday and had a hard time reading. We went to the ER, and I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So, my kid went from 20 years old to 30 years old in one day.
Oh my gosh.
And your daughter Bailey, she lives with you. She's 20. Is she with you every step of the way during this process? And I always want to make sure our kids are taken care of. So, how's she doing?
Bailey has been with me every step of this process, from literally the emergency room to doctor's appointments. She's been with me, after chemotherapy, and we've made all major decisions about this disease jointly, as well as our decision to go ahead and speak out. So, when people tell me, that I'm so brave for speaking out, in reality, it's my daughter who's made the decision to share her last few months with her mom with the world. It's really my daughter, Bailey.
Wow. So you're one of 3 plaintiffs who, with the help of Compassion and Choices, are suing California for the right to die as you wish, on your terms.
Exactly. And what we're suing for is essentially saying, look, the California Constitution and U.S. Constitution already allows individuals such as myself to refuse all medical care, hydration, and nutrition. If the California Constitution allows us to refuse that, then likewise the same Constitution should allow us to affirmatively choose aid in dying. So that's essentially what the lawsuit is asking for, is saying, look, please don't use Penal Code Section 401 to criminally prosecute the doctors and or patients who are trying to take advantage of this just to die more quickly and more peacefully.
Well, and it seems like a more humane way than to stop treatments and stop nutrition and hydration. And at what point of your journey did you decide that this was an option for you?
Well, as soon as I was diagnosed, over the next couple of days that I was in the hospital, my daughter and I talked about it at length, and we talked about it at length because the doctors had been very candid with us about the very painful way that I would likely die with the lung cancer and the brain cancer at that point. I was either going to be trapped in my own body and unable to communicate because the brain tumor was so big, or my lungs were going to fill with fluid and I was going to drown. Wow. So I did not want my daughter to have to carry those memories with her the rest of her life, and it's very frustrating to me that the current law would try to force me to do that.
I obviously, Jack Kevorkian, was I think it's fair to say he was a kind of a pioneer,
a trailblazer
in this. And I was looking back, I think I'd forgotten that he died a couple of years ago. But if this law were to pass, would it have had any impact on Jack Kevorkian's? I think he was acquitted
His
a couple
work.
times, but on his last, he was put in jail. Would this have had any kind of retroactive impact on what happened to him?
Well, I would say that it may not have an impact on him, and the reason is because the difference between physician-assisted suicide that Jack Kevorkian was participating in, the physician was actually administering the drug to the patient that caused them to die, whereas aid in dying or death with dignity, whatever label you give it, the patient has to be competent enough and physically able to administer their own medication. So the sole choice of this and the power and the control of this stays with the patient themselves. So that's very distinguishable from what Jack Kevorkian was doing.
Right. And that's what I think Compassion and Choice is called. They call it the empowered patient, right? Is that kind of under that guise?
Absolutely.
And was that, obviously Brittany Maynard was in the news, several months ago, when she chose
to move
to Oregon for that. And is that, did that have any effect on your choices? Like, where was the timing there? And do you think that her experience will ultimately help others who are in that same position like yourself?
Yes. Brittany Maynard, she broke into the media in October when she announced via video that she and her family, her mother Debbie, her husband Dan, they had all had to move to Oregon to lawfully take advantage of the Death with Dignity law there. After she took her life in November, I mean, there was a media frenzy about that. So that certainly raised awareness about aid and dying that until then had been really a topic that was in the closet.
Absolutely.
So now that the topic is more out of the closet, people are talking about this. It did impact my decision, my daughter's decision, but it didn't convince me. What Brittany did didn't convince me to do or to not do this, because this isn't a fad. This is really a personal choice. It just allowed me, and it gave my daughter and I both the courage to speak out about this. Rather than remaining quiet and personally dealing with this disease, which is almost what everybody wants to do. They don't want to spend their last days, no offense, but they don't want to spend their last days doing interviews and doing things like that. They want to be with their family.
Absolutely.
Right.
Christy, can you stay with us for one more segment? We just have to take a quick break.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll be right back on KHTS AM 1220, your hometown station. Welcome back to Broadscast. We are talking to Christy O'Donnell, who is a local LA mom, a practicing attorney, and she is fighting the state of California to allow her to die with dignity. Christy, thank you so much for staying with us. So it takes a while for obviously these bills to be passed, and do you have plans to move if the timing doesn't work for you?
No, my daughter and I had that option early on to move, but I made a decision. My daughter was willing to do it, but I made a decision as a mom that I was not willing to uproot her from her best friends here in Santa Clarita, take her out of her home, take her away from her college and make her reestablish in a new state, nor to take her out of her job. As you all know, she's 20 years old and has a great full-time job with benefits. I wasn't going to ask her to come with me to Oregon and be by herself
Right.
when I was facing death. I mean, that would have been the most cruel and unselfish thing or selfish thing that I think I could have done to my kid.
It's just amazing that absolutely as a mother, even in your final, days that you are thinking about your child, that it's your child's future, it's your child. And not only that, but you are advocating for so many others who may feel the same way. So how does it work with Brittany was very vocal about her timing and certain symptoms and when they appeared. And at this point, with it being against the law, what is your personal plan?
Well, my personal plan is that I've publicly spoken out, and I stand by this. I've spent over a decade, giving my blood, sweat, and tears to upholding the law with LAPD. I then spent another decade as a civil rights attorney doing the same thing. So I'm not in my last breath going to break the law, but that is the reason for the lawsuit, is to essentially, sue the state of California and the highest law enforcement officers in the state, essentially asking them to find that this is not unconstitutional and not to try to put, any doctor who would be willing to prescribe this to me in jail for a felony.
Right.
I'm so proud of some cities and municipalities like the city of Los Angeles, County of Ventura, that have come out publicly and said, you know what, in our cities, we're not going to enforce this. We stand behind Senate Bill 128, and I very much hope that the city of Santa Clarita, being very progressive, will do that soon.
Well, let me ask you a question. So this week, the California Medical Association altered its position on the bill, right? So they went from being opposed to it to a neutral stance. Does that? I would imagine that would help.
Does it send a message?
Absolutely, because, the opponents to this particular Senate bill and to aid and dying have always argued that, medically this was too dangerous, that it could have set a precedent. But when the California Medical Association, they are now no longer opposed to the bill, but they're not just neutral, arguably, because the head of the California Medical Association has come out publicly and stated in quotes that this decision of aid in dying is a personal decision between a doctor and a patient. So while they may not be using the word advocating, they've essentially said exactly what we've been saying. This is a personal decision.
Right. Well, I love the support you're getting, but with support always comes opposition, obviously. And sometimes those are the voices that we hear the loudest. So to those people that have been opposing this, they say that, allowing this act to go through would leave others exposed or vulnerable to being taken advantage of. And it says something to medical bills and skyrocketing medical bills when we're trying to lower. But I mean, to me, it sounded like a bunch of BS. But what do you say to those people that are opposing what you're trying to do?
Well, before I decided to speak out, I mean, obviously then as an attorney, I'm used to sort of dealing with the pros and cons of every single situation. In this particular case, I, like you, don't find that any of the opponent's arguments hold water.
Right.
I've heard the argument that that if the aid in dying bill passes or my lawsuit were to be granted, there would be an epidemic of suicides. Frankly, there's absolutely no evidence of that. It's been over 17 years that death with dignity has been lawful in Oregon. If there was an epidemic of suicides, we would see it on the front page of the paper.
Absolutely.
It hasn't happened.
Right.
The other oppositions clearly are that insurance companies will start to deny services. I would dare anyone to find a single terminally ill patient where insurance companies have not already denied services, and it's already happened to me. I went through 2 extra months of chemo, suffering when I wouldn't have had to do that if my insurance company had actually approved the scans that my doctor needed 2 months earlier.
Right.
So, and other arguments like it's unsafe for the medication to be able to come to your home. Well, I have, my pain medications that are Schedule I narcotics currently being sent to my home. There are already state and federal laws to protect those types of things. And as a civil rights attorney protecting the rights of disabled and elders, if I thought for 1 second that there was any more danger with this, I will be honest with you, and that I wouldn't advocate for this.
Right. It sounds, clearly you've done your research and you've lived your life. You walk the walk when it comes to rights and the law, and I have nothing but respect. And while our show is called Broadcast and we have our silly shtick of broads and what a broad is, what a broad is someone who stands up for what is right and stands and leads with her heart and leaves a legacy. And you are absolutely all of that, and you are our broad of the week. And we absolutely are so grateful that you share your story here with us. And we have a little gift we're going to send you. But
you're too kind, and I'm just, I have listened to your show in the past, and I'm so proud of everything that, you guys have done, and honestly giving, and being objective about all of these topics, because it's only through true informed debate that people can make informed decisions in this country. So I appreciate both of you.
But thank you, Christy.
so
I
much.
also, as someone who gets to do advocacy work, I know that what you're doing is selfless and tireless and often underappreciated. So from all of us that are behind you, we're supporting you and wishing you well. And I don't mean to get emotional, but thank you for what you're doing for us.
thank you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Christy.